Hello and welcome back to Man v Film. I have got my 10 favourite releases from 88 films this year. I'm going to run through them quick, what my thoughts are, and I'd love to hear what your favourite release of the year was. So we're going to start off with number 10, which was Grandmother's House from the Slasher Classics collection. Not so much a slasher, but a really atmospheric movie that must have had some influence on The Visit, Shyamalan's movie. I loved the wonderful atmosphere that they have in the first hour. The second half of the movie runs into a formulaic hunting down of someone chasing the kids. But it's really endearing and fun and has some really tense moments. And like I say, the atmosphere, really wonderful. Now, the first of a couple of Jackie Chan's on this list. A real surprise was Spiritual Kung Fu. Now, this one kind of had me on the back step almost because I heard it wasn't a great Jackie Chan movie. I really loved it. Even the ghost aspect of it, I kind of appreciated. Once we get by the first half hour where it kind of was struggling with its tone, I really loved where it settled, and I thought the fight scenes were wonderful and the story was really exciting as well. Number 8 on my list is New Year's Evil. First time I'd seen this movie, heard a lot about it, and it lived up to it. It was a slasher movie that had enough of the tropes to make it a familiar slasher, but it had enough differences and changed enough of the tropes to make it really unique. And I'm really quite excited about just throwing this on every 31st of December every year and just watching it, because it was such a fun movie that it's going to be part of my yearly ritual of movies that I habitually watch all the time. I really did like it. It's not full of blood, but it's got some great production values, some great shots, great idea, and revealing the colour early on was something that I really kind of grew to like. Number 7 on my list, and the first of 2 Van Damme movies, is Street Fighter, a movie that has one hell of a reputation, regarded as a silly throwaway video game movie that didn't quite live up to it. This is a campy, big budget, balls to the walls kind of action movie. It knows exactly what it is. It's happy to poke fun at itself. It's great. It has a really stoic performance by Van Damme. It has an over-the-top scenery chewing performance from Raul Julia, who really just owns the movie. It's got some great fight scenes and it's really well shot as well. It looks a little bit cheap and shaky in certain moments, but overall I really enjoyed going back to this. There was a warmthness to this movie that I had forgotten all about, and when I was expecting to be cringing every minute or two, I found myself engaged with the characters and enjoying this silly adventure movie. Number 6, and my only Italian collection movie on my list this year, is 7 Bloodstained Orchids. Almost forgot, it's right there. And this was an Umberto Lenzi movie, and it was a typical giallo movie. You know, followed all the beats, had all the right notes that you expect in a giallo movie. Now, it didn't really excel above that, but sometimes just a really good form of a subgenre is enough. And I liked the mystery in this one. I liked some of the twists and tales about why the people were investigating it, who they were. The whole mystery of what happens in this one was a really nice reveal at the end of it. Well, and it's just a really solid, well-constructed giallo movie. Number 5 on my list is Folks, otherwise known as Sea HiJack. Now, I just loved the character of Roger Moore in this one. He was so funny, jaded, knew exactly who he was and was not going to bend to anybody. I loved the fact that just some of the silly twists and turns that it had, the fact that he's listening to a briefing, knitting. Some of the monologues, the speeches that he has are just downright hilarious, and it's a really good adventure thriller as well. I had a lot of fun with this one, had never heard of it before, but I really enjoyed it. Number 4 on my list is another Van Damme, and that is Replicant. directed by Ringo Lam, came out in 2001 and co-starring Michael Rooker. Again, this was one of those ones I just discounted as typical Van Damme movie. Once he was by his best, wasn't really too sure. Got two Van Dammes in it. Again, we've been there, we've done it. But it really was something rather different. The idea behind it is rather hokey. The fact that Van Damme, the character, is a serial killer, and they've managed to clone him due to some DNA they've got, and now they're hoping that there is a connection between these two, and Michael Rooker, the cop, with this fledgling human being, will be able to track down this killer. It sounds silly and hokey, but it's really well shot. The action fight scenes are wonderful, and two really different, great performances from Van Damme. Number 3 on my list is another Jackie Chan, my favourite of the year, and that was the Fearless Hyena. From the moment I put this one on, this was special. This was something that just ticked all the boxes for what I love about Jackie Chan movies. I think the standout, or one of my favourite standout sequences of many that this movie has to offer, is the absolutely wonderful fight with his new trainer. While they're having lunch, it turns into a training session, and it becomes one of the most elaborate and really well timed and just fascinating to watch fight sequences, of which this movie has many. I really did love this. It was one of my favourites. My number 2 on the list this year is 10 to Midnight from the Slasher Classics collection. I love Bronson. Mixing this in with a kind of slasher idea was wonderful. The killer is menacing, threatening, he is iconic, his machinations are well formed and thought out, and the way he goes about it is really interesting, and Bronson is just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. He shows a kind of softer side as he builds a relationship with his almost estranged daughter throughout the movie while hunting down this vicious killer. So much fun, I really loved it. My favourite release of the year was a no-brainer. It was number 1 before I even got my hands on it, because it was something I was super excited to get, and that was the I Know What You Did Last Summer Trilogy. Tripping over my words today. And it lived up to it. Now, you get this awesome packaging, it's kind of reflective. You've got the fisherman there, you've got the tombstone from part 2. I think the first 2 movies are exquisite, the extras are wonderful, the commentaries are really good, and I don't often jump into all the commentaries, but these ones were particularly knowledgeable. I liked I Still Know What You Did Last Summer even more than the first one this time around. I'd always leaned towards that as being a more typical slasher movie, and one that just revelled in the tropes, but watching these 2 movies were just utterly wonderful. This is my number 1 release, even though it has an utter turd of a third movie in the I'll Always Know, but as a completionist's sake, it's nice to have it. But the first 2 movies are just out and out wonderful for me, and that was just great pickups. I loved what 88 Films did this year. I think they had some great releases. I'm already looking forward to 2021. The Urban Legends box set, it'll probably be my top 10 next year. Looking forward to more Chan, more of the slasher classics, hopefully more of the Italian collection. And I'm really excited about the Van Damme movies. One kind of set of movies I wasn't expecting to like as much, but I am in, and I am in big time on them. I'd love to know what your favourite 88 Films release was for the year. Let me know in the comment box below. I'll see you next time on Man v Film.